Hello, welcome to another lesson on microtonal guitar. So in this lesson we're going to continue from a previous lesson where we were looking at the Harmonic Series. So once again I have my mono chord here. The link is below or to the right there for in the playlist. So there's a list of all the videos in the series that I'm doing. Actually, before I get into this lesson, I want to do kind of a quick overview of what we're doing here. So, the first lesson we looked at musical scales and intervals. So, we looked at Mixolydian scale, and we started looking at scale numbers. So memorizing your scales by numbers, and then learning how 145 the scales in 145 of a particular key, how different intervals from one key, how they relate back to the parent key. And so then in the last lesson we started looking at the harmonic series and the first four harmonics, and we looked at the ratios for octaves, fourths, and fifths. So 2/1 is an octave, a perfect fifth is 3/2, and a fourth is 4/3. Okay? And so really where we're going with this is quote unquote, how does this relate to quote unquote microtonal guitar? So as we start going now, we're going to do the 4th through the 8th harmonics, and the 7th harmonic is going to be very 30%, quite a bit different than our normal interval is for a flatted 7th. So our if we define microtones as basically, in Western music, a lot of times we look at microtones as, notes that are in between our normal pitches of our pianos. So a microtone is any note that, doesn't fit our standardized pitches that we have. Okay? And then what I'm really building up towards is an understanding of how microtones are related to tuning theory and ratios, and then how different microtones or different types of intervals, how they relate to each other and parent keys, and everything's really going to go back to the harmonic series. Okay, so let's look at the next four harmonics here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now from 4 we're gonna go up to our 5th harmonic. Okay, now the 5th harmonic is very close to what we equal temperament and contemporary Western music is a major third. Okay, so the interval then, the ratio for a major third is very close, is approximately 5/4. Okay, so we're gonna say the interval for a major third is 5/4. Later on we'll get into temperaments and stuff like that, but for now we're just using the notes that these are most closest to in equal temperament. Okay, and then the 6th harmonic, well, what's that? That's going to be another octave of the third, right? So that's a major fifth. So I know that's confusing. So the 3rd harmonic was a perfect fifth, right? So the 6th harmonic is going to be that an octave higher. And if we relate that back to the 4th harmonic, so a lot of times, what we always want to do is have the ratios be, first off, within one octave, so not a compound ratio. And we want it to be reduced down to its. So if we're looking at from the fourth harmonic to the sixth, 6 over 4, well, that would reduce down to the relationship of 3 over 2, right? So these two pitches are both an octave higher than these two, okay? So now we get to the seventh harmonic. And that 7 over 4 ratio is a dominant seventh. Like I said, it's substantially different than the seventh we're used to hearing, and we'll talk about that when we get into limits and stuff like that in another lesson. And then now we have the eighth harmonic, which is again, of course, an octave of the fourth. So here we have 1, 3, 5, 7, 1. Oops. Sorry. So we have a arpeggio there, for dominant 7 arpeggio. Okay, so we've got the fourth harmonic, 5 over 4, 6 over 4, or 3 over 2, 7 over 4, 8 over 4, or 2 over 1. Okay, so yeah, so that's our, the fourth through the eighth harmonics. Now, if we went through the 8th through the 16th harmonics, we would have a scale. We would have what's called the nature's scale. And we would have, so, we're going to go from 8 to 16. We're going to reduce different intervals down. So 8, 9 over 8, 10 over 8 would be 5 over 4. 11 over 8, 12 over 8 reduces down to 13 over 2. 13 over 8. 14 over 8, which reduces down to 7 over 4. 15 over 8. And then 2 over 1. So we basically have a root. 9 over 8 is the second scale degree, is very close to a major second in our normal tuning. 5 over 4, like we said, was a major third. Now, we don't have a 4 over 3, right? We have an 11 over 8, which is is almost a pure quarter tone. It's a, augmented fourth or flatted fifth. And then we have a 3 over 2, perfect fifth. And we have a 13 over 8, 6, which is in between. It's a very it's almost another quarter tone. It's in between. I think it's like 60. Anyway, we'll get more into these different types of microtonal intervals. And then we have 14 over 8, which is 7 over 4. 15 over 8, which is very close to our equal tempered major seventh. And then we have 2 over 1 for the octave. Okay, now a couple things to look at really quick here. So when we were talking about compound, when we were looking at intervals in relationship to the parent key, right? So the major second of your parent key is the fifth of your 5 chord, right? So in other words, if we have C, if we're in the key of C, C, D, D's our second, and then C, D, E, F, G, G's our 5 chord. So if we build a scale now on G, G, A, B, C, D, that D is the 5th scale degree of your 5, right? And so then we can also get that with our, if we're looking at these pure tunings, and I'll get into this more in detail in another lesson, but so now instead of just using intervals, we're going to start multiplying ratios together. So 3 over 2 times 3 over 2 would be 9 over 4. So that 9, we want to bring that 4 up so those are within 1 octave. So 9 over 8. So the perfect fifth of the perfect fifth is 9/8, right? Um, and so one other thing we could look at in terms of that, if we look at that, either the 5/4, the fifth harmonic, and we times that by 3/2, or we go to the third harmonic and times that by 5/4, we're gonna get to that major seventh that we talked about a second ago from nature's scale, 15/8. So 5/4, we would have 5 times 3 is 15. 4 times 2 is 8. So we'd have a ratio of 15/8, right? So I'm going to stop there. I'm like trying to keep these lessons a little bit short, so they don't get too long-winded. I want to try to keep these between 5 and 10 minutes. So I'm going to stop there. Please let me know if you have any questions and check back for future lessons. So yeah, main takeaway. So we've gone up from the fourth harmonic to the 16th. We started looking at ratios, and I really want you guys to start thinking about how instead of thinking of your scale degrees like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, try to start thinking of them in terms of musical ratios. So 1/1, 9/8, 5/4, 4/3, etc. Okay? Once again, please let me know if you have questions. Check out the playlist. Go to the website. I got a lot of more documentation. You could download these, some PDFs, and I've got other videos there too. Okay, thanks.